Drifter has been absent the past couple of weeks, and it seems like this could be on purpose. He's been running a secret mission for the Hidden and could be going behind Eris and Sloane's back. Welcome, Guardians. Today we discuss this new lore and dialogue. Sloane hasn't fully agreed with Eris's plans, but as we've seen with yesterday's story, she said it worked and she was impressed. Our actions have shocked the Hive siblings, and we need to make sure we can contain them. Sloane still seems to want to destroy the Echo of Oryx, while Eris wants to learn more from it. So you have these two different ideals or plans from these characters that seem to be bubbling to the surface. This gets even more intriguing when you look at some of the lore entries, like the new card from last week called Iris, where Sloane is aboard the Drifter ship making plans. We know the Drifter left at the beginning of Act 2 and is on a strange mission, a mission we'll talk about in a little bit. Here's the card first. Don't you have a home to go to? Drifter wanted to know. Deputy Commander Sloane, who had any number of other places she could be, glanced up from her assortment of reports and screens. She'd set up her battle station right in the middle of Drifter's ship and showed no signs of leaving. I'm busy, she said. Her ghost, hovering above her left shoulder, bobbed in agreement. Either contribute or leave. That's my line, Drifter groused, but he pulled up one of the more stable chairs anyway, dropping himself into it where he could scan over the things she'd had spread out. Hive? It's always Hive, Sloane said tiredly. Unless it's taken. Unless it's taken, she agreed. Then remembered she was angry with him, scowling across the way. Were you going to help? Drifter held his hands up, exaggerated his "I wasn't doing nothing, ma'am" expression. I might have a few pieces of intel. Right, Sloane said. Well, you go ahead and volunteer those when they seem relevant. I'm thinking Xivu Arath has to be first. Savathun likes the long game anyway, and Xivu Arath's eager for a fight. She'll hit us first, and we don't want to be trying to unwind some kind of trap while Xivu's throwing swords. She's real into swords. Helpful. Sloane tapped her fingers against the rickety card table. If Xivu Arath gets going, it'll be hard to stop her without also powering her up by fighting. So we'll hit her first, ideally, if we can find the right place before she starts killing. Drawn in despite himself, Drifter squinted at Sloane's notes. A blue line map of the Dreadnought in 3 dimensions, half complete, a few little notes off to the side ranking Hive constructs and likely locations for Xivu Arath's plots. Swords was underlined heavily. Surprise attack still feels like an attack to me, he said in a moment, warming up to being helpful. It sure is, Sloane blew out a frustrated breath. She's not what she was, not since Eris cut her off. But we still don't have time for an elegant, pacifist solution, which is why my best thought is to not target her directly. We target her targets, find where she plans to hit, deprive her of kills and tithes by taking them down first. And if it does come to straight-on combat, make whatever we do quick and clean. None of the glory in battle nonsense she likes. She shrugged, not particularly happy. It's got flaws, but it's something. Not the worst plan I've heard, Drifter said honestly. He rocked his chair onto one leg, swinging it over the pivot point carelessly. You think all this is gonna work? Sloane looked up at him, fixing him with the sort of gaze that looks through him. He had the sense that he had her full attention. I don't know, she said, but I know we have to give it our best if we have any shot at it working. You trust Eris, don't you? Course I do. Sloane deliberated visibly for a moment or two. Then it'll work, she said finally. Sure, said Drifter, ignoring the sheer volume of things she clearly hadn't said. Alright, guess I'm already dealt in anyway. Got any use for a list of places the Lucent Brood's been sighted? Always. So this is very interesting, a card on Drifter's ship where Sloan and Drifter are speaking. I'm assuming this happens over the last couple of weeks of content in-game, as that's when the lore card came out. But this is something, of course, we don't see. Drifter said he's going away after the events of week 1, and Sloan sometimes appears, but as we see, it's usually talking to Eris or us. So Drifter's derelict and making plans aborted does have some part to play in the current events.
I know you have your shiny new immortality palace, but that's just it. You're bringing Oryx there, and I trust you, but...
You trust, but you fear. I understand your guilt, but I would have been aboard the Dreadnought with or without you.
But I was there, and then I woke up to a world without you.
There is no blame for my death, nor your surviving it. I woke to a world of my own. Put down your fear, Drifter. You do not deserve such a burden.
Keeping the Echo locked down is tough. I ain't gonna tell you what you can and can't do. Still, it could go sideways fast. But I'm here if it does. And so is Thunderguns. Taking King won't one-up us. I trust us. I trust you. We'll get it done. And after.
As for Drifter himself, he seems to be making a backup plan with the missing pieces of Oryx's sword, and he's working for the Hidden. Early in this episode, we read a card called Watchful Eye, where Drifter met with Chalco Young of the Hidden. Chalco wanted Drifter to watch over Sloan and Eris, and report anything strange if it arose, as Eris is always tied to hive magics, and Sloan is partially taken. Drifter said, hey, I don't want to spy on anybody, but he eventually agrees that it's the best for them, and here's that card again for those who haven't seen it. Sounds like you're asking me to spy on my own people, Drifter replied. I'm a lot of things, but I ain't a snitch. He leaned back and crossed his arms, eyeing Chalco over the remnants of a now cold dumpling lunch. Chalco suppressed an eye roll. As much damage as he left in his wake, the Drifter's ego was surprisingly fragile. She would have to handle the rogue Lightbearer with a delicate touch. I'm asking you to look out for their well-being, the Hidden operative replied. Sloane's as tough as they come, but there's no precedent for being half taken. We don't know what the long-term effects might be. As far as Eris goes, Chalco let that thought hang. Drifter had no doubt already calculated the potential consequences of her accumulated trauma. Of course I'm gonna look after him, Drifter groused, but that ain't what you're asking, is it? I'm asking you to keep me in the loop, Chalco replied. Neither one of them is great at asking for help, and we don't want to find out too late that we could have done more. Chalco took a sip of tea, calculating the social dynamics from behind her mask of concern. As a member of the Hidden, she was more than capable of keeping tabs on Eris and Sloane herself. But the Drifter was a volatile element. He could unthinkingly make a bad situation worse. She needed his complicity. Just let me know what we can do to help, Chalco continued. Will you do that? Drifter grumbled. As much as he hated to admit it, the idea of a safety net was appealing. Fine, he relented. I'll let you know if anything comes up on 2 conditions. First, stay out of our way. And second, Chalco prompted. Drifter stood up and stuffed the last 2 dumplings in the pocket of his tunic. Lunch is on you. So there's a couple of things going on here. Drifter is working for the Hidden, possibly making a backup plan if things go south between Sloane and Eris Morin's proposed plans. That's either an option, or are Sloane and Drifter somehow working together? She was making plans aboard his ship. I find it kind of odd if that was the case though, because Drifter and Eris are a thing. But either way, there seems to be some type of backup plan going on here in the background. Sloane was interested in using Willbreaker to straight up kill the Echo of Oryx, and the Hidden and Drifter are now collecting pieces of it for some other reason. So let me know what you think in the comments down below.
Hey, Hero. Got an update for you. Sounds like you and Eris and Sloane have the taken stuff under control. So I'm headed out on recon duty. Hall's staying parked right where it is. This is a short trip, don't you fret. But it's like Sloane said, it got Hive God worse around here. And now our backup plans need backup plans. So here's mine. This ain't all the pieces of Oryx's sword, not by a long shot. I'm putting some feelers out, hunting down where those pieces have wandered off to. You never know when you might need a wicked Hive sword. So everything's under control. No need to worry about old Drifter. I'll give you a shout when I've got something. Well, can't patch a Hive sword up with the everyday sealant. Where's that leave us? You're gonna need some kind of taken fanciness for that. More than I have handy. Might be easier in the right place. Got some thoughts on that? I'll leave you a couple notes. Now, if anyone asks, I didn't tell you this, but they can't do anything to you anyway. Been working with the Hidden a little. Call it freelancing. I do a favor for them, they do a favor for me. They're squares, but they've got good intel. And they've been keeping an eye on Savathun. We're gonna have to deal with her sooner, not later. Still digging, but when something useful comes up on her, I'll be in touch, Hero. You just stay ready.
Anyway, Guardians, that's all we got for today's video. If you'd like to see some more Destiny news, lore, and mysteries just like it, please be sure to subscribe to the channel. I thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next video.